GG.
Alrighty, let's move on now to our second review of the evening. We're wrapping it up with Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, which is a 2001 science fiction film directed by Hironobu Sakaguchi, creator of the Final Fantasy franchise.
I love Japanese names. Sakaguchi.
You don't? Sakaguchi.
I do.
Oh, you do?
So
Yeah,
fun.
they're the best. It was the first photorealistic computer-animated feature film and the most expensive video game-inspired film until the release of Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time in 2010. It features the voices of Ming-Na Wen, Alec Baldwin, Donald Sutherland, James Woods, Ving Rhames, Perry Gilpin, and Steve Buscemi. The film follows scientists Aki Ross and Aki, I forget how you pronounce it, was it Aki?
Aki Ross.
Aki Ross, and Dr. Sid in their efforts to free a post-apocalyptic Earth from a mysterious and deadly alien race, the Phantoms, which have driven the remnants of humanity into barrier cities. Aki and Sid must fight against General Hine, who wants to use more violent means to end the conflict. Square Pictures rendered the film using some of the most advanced processing capabilities available at the time. A render farm of 960 workstations was tasked with rendering each of the film's 141,964 frames. It took a staff of 200 about 4 years to complete The Spirits Within. Square intended to make the character of Aki Ross into the world's most photorealistic computer-animated actress, with plans for appearances in multiple films in different roles. Ba-bow. The Spirits Within premiered in Los Angeles on July 2nd, 2001 and received mixed reviews, but was widely praised for its character's realism. Due to rising costs, the film greatly exceeded its original budget toward the end of production, reaching a final cost in 2001, keep in mind, of $137 million. It grossed only $85 million at the box office. The film has been called a box office bomb and is blamed for the demise of Square Pictures, which I didn't know existed until right now. Act surprised everyone. Audience have given this one a higher rating than critics. It has an IMDb rating of 6.4 from 82,000 users, while the Metascore sits at 49. Rotten Tomatoes, gentlemen, take your guess.
70?
41.
44%! Ben, you're on fire!
Ben!
In tune with the critics, sir. In tune.
I'm trying to find other Square Pictures movies. And
I'm on it right now.
Thanks,
You guys
Jason.
do your homework.
Mate, the opening scene to this movie, oh my god. Like, okay, I'll give it a caveat at the end, but I'm going to read the first line. It's been years since they arrived on this planet, and not a day passes that the survivors, forced to live in barrier cities, do not live in fear. I vowed to end that fear. I believe my dreams hold the key. What the?
When you say it like that, then.
That's not really the first line. The first line is like, every night the same dream, the same strange planet, but why? What are they trying to tell me?
I think that's
You're having a dream, lady.
That's right, Maxie. Yeah, Square Pictures, the movie arm of the company.
So, like, worst dialogue open to a movie you could hope for, but it does actually play into the plot later. We learn like she's got this spirit within, spoiler alert, and it's like kind of talking to her just like Ender's Game, and it's like talking about how he's trying to tell the story of its race and the aliens that are suffering, just like Ender's Game, and I don't know, that they don't mean any harm, just like Ender's Game, all that stuff.
Ben, can you hold this thought? We do need to note here before we dive fully into the review that, of course, we ran a fundraiser in December to raise money for cancer research. Our good friend Cameron, Shadowless Edge, donated to that and selected Final Fantasy Spirits Within. Thank you again, Cameron, for donating. Greatly appreciated. Ben, continue.
Yeah, this movie reminded me of Ender's Game. That's what I'm trying to say. I like Ender's Game a lot. It's like that's one of my, I watch it all the time.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Movies.
I knew you liked it.
And it's Haley Steinfeld, amazing. The ugly kid who plays the bully, amazing.
That plays the bully. I thought you meant
plays the bully,
the main character.
The kid who plays Ender Wiggin, he's fine. His job is to be like the Ryan Gosling of the picture. He just stands there and reacts to the movie happening around him. He's like, "What? Me?
Yeah,
what?"
I do remember that. He had a big nose. He was a short, big nose kid, the ugly.
Yeah, he's a tiny kid with this big Italian nose and the New York accent, and he's a bully. He's got like he's strangely buff, even though he's small. He's such a weird looking
Moises
kid.
Arias. Arias. Yeah, Arias. Let me link him in chat. That's him.
Have a glance. Yeah, that's him.
Dweeb.
So yeah, I love. Yeah, he plays Bonzo. That's his name. Such a
Bonzo,
great,
that's right. I remember that.
such a great bully name.
We reviewed that in the Awesome Edition. Good times.
I had that. I had in this game, kind of ruined by a book reader somebody who read the book, and I'm like talking about how the fact I'm gonna, like, I don't know. I'm thinking I'm gonna go watch Ender's Game. It was because it just come out. I'm like I'm gonna go to the movies and watch Ender's Game, and they're like, oh, I read that book, and they started talking to me about it. They kind of gave away the ending, and that was annoying. But then it made the ending when it happened, when I watched it, like even better. Anyway, Spirits Within had some funny stuff. First of all, I remember this. I watched it a million times. Every Thursday I would go to my nan's place. We would go to the video store. I'd get a VHS and I'd watch it. And I had like I'd go to the new release section, obviously. Is there anything new that I want to watch? If not, I would go to one of my go-tos. And Spirits Within was one of the go-tos. Because I was a kid that bought games based on the graphics on the box. And the graphics on this movie was, otherworldly great. It was so amazing to me that what I was seeing, wasn't real people and all that kind of stuff.
Can I just cut in, Jason, and ask what were your go-tos? Because mine as a kid, I'd go to see my nan in DY every school holidays, me and Aaron, and we'd go down to, I think it was a Video Easy, and without fail, we're getting either or both of Disney's Robin Hood and one of the Land Before Time films.
Right. They were both on my list as well. Yeah, totally.
Of games to hire.
No, films too.
Oh, films. Do you remember that movie Titan AE?
Yeah. I don't think I ever saw it.
I think I like cool animated stuff, like cool adult animated things that look like because I guess I was like getting into anime when I was watching like SVS, so it was just like cool cartoons, like whoa, what's this? I want to see more of this, and so I was like on the hunt for that kind of stuff. Yeah,
and not hiding our age here, Mexigeek. We're all well over 30 at this point. Over the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, VHS for the win. I used to watch the Street Fighter animated movie. That one.
Yeah, I've got that.
Do you?
Yeah.
We should watch it next time I visit.
Sounds good.
Or next time you come down as well, and you bring it. Anywho,
yes.
Yeah. So on the rewatch, it's been like a decade easy. More. It's been 15 plus years since I watched this, and man, woof. This is what I could think when I was like, because I remembered like in my memory, I was like, this is the most beautiful, amazing movie I could ever watch with my eyeballs open, and oh my god, it has aged. Like it is still okay, but only just okay. And innocence lost is what I felt. I felt like, oh no, I'm gonna ruin this movie for myself because I have it on this pedestal in my brain, and now I'm gonna watch it as an adult with critical thinking skills and like I don't care about graphics as much and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, just didn't look great, especially Oki's Oki. I don't know.
AKI. So I
Aki.
Yeah. Anyway, I feel like they pronounce it differently. It was definitely
Especially-
an American Aki.
Especially her bob cut that doesn't go anywhere. Like her hair doesn't move. It's just kind of like it does like do a little bit of hair physics or whatever, but it doesn't get in her face or whatever. There's a whole scene where she's on her hands and knees like looking down at something, and her hair is still sitting here, and she's like looking down at whatever. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, I'm sure they cut that really quick because it was a quick cut, so that you didn't have to think about that for too long before they actually got away from it. The thing I love the most is the bad guy, the villain guy who looks just like Joaquin Phoenix, like I don't know, like from the Gladiator kind of age bracket, and it's such a weird villain because so it's not like he's in direct opposition to the hero, and they have to, like, one person has to win, kind of thing. It's like they're both after the same goal to deal with these spirits and restore humanity to the planet and give the planet back to the humans and all that kind of deal, and stop living in fear and all that and the like. And it's just that they're going about it in two different ways. One person is a crazy person, and the other person is an evil person. And it just happens that this time the crazy person was right. And so the evil guy, he is doing evil stuff. But it's a weird character, and I love that he gets two moments in the movie where he goes, holy shit, I fucked up. Like he has two distinct, completely separate moments in the movie where he's like, what have I done? I am the dumbest person in the world. Like, I love that he gets two of those. Like, he gets the what have I done? When he like lets the spirits into the city to try and prove a point, but then it like gets way too much and the city is destroyed or whatever. And he's like, fuck, I'm a dipshit. Why did I do that? I can't believe that I did that. He gets over it quickly and pursues his agenda to bomb the world from space or whatever. And then he gets another moment where he's like firing the gun too many times or whatever, and he's causing a catastrophe or whatever, and he turns around just before something blows up or whatever, and he has exactly that moment again. And I love that so much. It's like it made the movie enjoyable again. Like it wasn't enjoyable, and then it really was, because I was like, that's so good. He's like, he really is his own worst enemy. Oh man, I loved it. Anyway, as a movie, it's like I have questions about like the timeline, like what's going on. It looks like they've been working at this gaining all the spirits to collect them all thing for months and months and all this time, and then they get the last three in like 12 hours. Like they get the last three like boom boom boom, and it's like 2 days have passed or something. And I'm like, that whole thing doesn't make sense. The whole political thing with the council and all that kind of thing. I mean, it's fine, but it's not fascinating. And the whole trying to be the aliens squad, the squad that talk back at the captain and make jokes. And this guy's the gun guy. This guy's the scared guy. This one's the girl who's really butch and like a man and like more manly than the scared guy. That whole trope came out and played itself like all these movies. Like there's a myriad of movies that have the tightly knit squad who, like, even Saving Private Ryan have it. But I recently watched Aliens, and I'm like, sorry, Aliens did it like first. They have ownership over this. You're stealing this from Aliens. And so it always diminishes it a little bit when I watch another movie doing it. So when I'm watching a movie that's not great everywhere else, it's piling on dog pile. So anyway, that's all I remember. I remember not thinking too much about the score. I think the score was pretty good. I can't tell you what it was.
Yeah.
Which is a pro, not a con.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I loved, the graphical detail of the spirits, like how they looked. They're like out of phase or translucent or whatever, and they're actually invisible until you brighten them up with like these special flares, or they pass through a barrier of energy or whatever. That whole thing, that whole design and the way that they look is really cool.
Yeah, they're very unique.
And then they keep going back in this dream sequence to this big battle that's taking place between one group of aliens and another group of aliens that look exactly like them, and they're all fighting each other, and I'm just like, this is a mess. But when I was a kid, I was like, oh, imagine if this was a game and I could play it. Oh, wow, this is great. But now I'm just like, all right, we're back here again, and they're fighting, and it's not that great. And then you learn like that the fighting has nothing to do with what the spirit within or whatever is trying to tell us. He's just trying to get past the battle, which is completely coincidental, to the sun blowing up or the planet collapsing in on itself or something. Maybe it did have something to do with the war. Maybe someone as stupid as the human general in the movie was there on the alien planet and blew the planet up in spite or whatever, and got to have a moment of, what have I done? That's so good. But yeah, I didn't love that part of it as well. How we just keep going back to the dream to explore like 3 seconds more, and then we get like 2 seconds more, and then we get like closer and closer to what the dream means. Don't love that trope either. But anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about it. You know what? The experience of watching it with you guys was totally worth, especially because that general thing that I've already spoken about twice. Curious to see if you guys disagree, to be honest.
Before I pass it on to you, Jace, Max Geek in chat says the problem it has now, though, is that things like lighting are not where modern movies are. So we see things more plastic because light does not respond the way we expect. And watching the trailer for it again, I'm getting Beast Wars vibes, mostly from the landscape. Yeah, I totally agree on the lighting. I think that's something that obviously is, along with just the fidelity of obviously animated films, has come such a long way. Though I would argue
I think
as well,
Jason
like,
actually said something about ray tracing isn't enabled. Like he made a joke while watching it. So
I'd
ray
say
tracing in this.
I
Yeah.
will say
It's
that there is something about textural detail of films of this era, animated films of this era, that I think is common across a lot of them. Like I feel as though rock detail, gravel detail looks very similar in this, in the same way that does in Shrek, in the same way that does in Bug's Life, where lots of little small things are there to communicate that detail, but it's not necessarily the texture applied to those. Whereas now you look at the sand in Piper or Moana, and it is clearly identifiable as that specific material, and that is due to detail, also lighting. But I feel like that was obvious to me when watching this one. Mr. Mira, over to you, sir. Spirits Within.
This movie, I remember watching it at the cinema.
Whoa.
And yeah, I know. And they overbooked the cinema. I was telling you guys when we sat down, we just had people sitting in the aisles because they didn't have any chairs to watch the film, and we were just sitting there watching. I was excited because I got to go to the movies, because when did this come out? 2001. I was young, and yeah, just watching it on the screen was cool. And I think I remember most the most of the details I remembered watching it was like, oh, look how cool the ships look, how cool the costumes are, and the world building looks, and all, like, and then the stupid way they held their guns, like, well, who holds a gun like this? Like, all right, guys, it's so stupid.
10-year-old Jason was thinking this at that time.
Yeah, I kept thinking about it. I was like, who the hell holds it? Anyway. It was an experience. So watching it again, I've watched it again since like between then and when I watched it with you guys. I remember going, this movie does not hold up graphically. And I remember listening to some video game podcast talking about how like 8-bit platformers like Mario and Sonic still hold up today. Like, they look great compared to like PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2 3D style graphic games. Like, try playing looking at Metal Gear Solid 1 compared to like Streets of Rage, for example. Like, yeah, it's definitely of its time. Don't get me wrong, Metal Gear Solid 1's amazing. But yeah, it's watching this again, it's like it's limited by the technology of its age. That's what Howard Stark said to Tony Stark. So, like, can you imagine what they would do with a similar technology after this film? And then they did that with Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, which is another Final Fantasy animated CGI film. It was basically a continuation of the story from Final Fantasy VII. And I had not played Final Fantasy VII, and so I watched Advent Children. They had some awesome fight scenes and very anime, cool CGI, and like definitely a step up from Spirits Within. Like graphically, and the animation and the textures looked really, really cool. And then you look at Final Fantasy VII Remake, and the graphics from Advent Children to Remake is just insane. It's just a huge jump. So like it's just hard watching like old animated movies like this. I would have loved to have watched like an anime of this, just straight up 2D hand drawn anime. It would have been awesome. But yeah, it's definitely hindered by the graphics. Story wise, it wasn't very strong. Like, it's not very like compelling. Like, I guess for nerd me, like I don't want to follow a scientist trying to solve the world's problems. I just want to like see someone run around and swing a sword, right? But yeah, it's like uh, there's that trope of that girl and the guy in a movie. They always have to like kiss at the end or something like that. There's always like a romantic arc to get people involved or invested in it, and it's definitely guilty of that with Ming Na's character and Alec Baldwin's character. Is just like, ugh, of course they know each other, and of course
That's
they
history,
like,
yeah.
yeah, of course, yeah. It's just, ugh. But otherwise, like, yeah, some really cool ideas in this film. Like the character design, like of the monsters, like looked cool. The idea that there are these phantoms, like alien ghost thingies from another planet that crash land on our planet is really cool. And one thing that I've always like, again, like young me kept in mind ever since watching the movie, this at the start where they jump out of the dropship and they don't have parachutes or anything, but then instead they shoot down this clear, like smoky gel
yeah.
thing, and then they land on that, and they don't have a parachute or anything like that, or no jetpacks. They just quietly land on that
On
little gel thing,
Instant
and it just
inflatable pillow. Yeah.
yeah, and it just dissipates. You know, so there's no trace. It's yeah, so cool. I
How
haven't
crazy
seen
that is,
anyone.
though. Like, like that thing, that goo pile that they're shooting on the ground, isn't that big? And like you can imagine someone like shooting their goo and they're like, I missed. Like,
Yes, gel airbags, basically. Gel
Yeah.
airbags. That's it.
Oh, so cool! Just cool little ideas like that. I'd be interested to see how if someone out there with free time on their hands remade this like scenes of this film in Unreal Engine 5 with ray tracing on and everything. That'd be really really interesting. But yeah, it's not a strong film watching it nowadays. It's definitely aged. The meta score is definitely in the right ballpark, but I think if you want to see an awesome Final Fantasy film, just watch Advent Children or play Final Fantasy 7 and then watch Advent Children. That'd be my advice, or just go watch other cool animated films like Spider-Man.
If you want a cool movie, don't watch this one. Watch something else.
Into the Spider-Verse, you know.
yeah, mate, Into the Spider-Verse.
Because that's a totally animated film that uses its animation as a storytelling device. So yeah, there you go.
Cue the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, I'll jump in
Shane?
now. There's not a lot to add on what you guys said. Definitely shows its age, but I will say I went in with very low expectations visually. I'm thinking to myself, this is going to look horrible, and it exceeded those very incredibly lowest of lows expectations. Like, you know what? This is still impressive to some extent, particularly Aki when her hair isn't moving. You know, when she's just like standing there talking. I'm like, okay, that's some incredible detail in the hair as well. Yeah. So yeah, that actually didn't jump out at me as like this horrible thing just because my expectations were low. But yeah, to the points that have already been raised around lighting and detail, very very dated. And I will agree, like this film is so full of tropes that it is those small things that you mentioned, Jace, that help that allow me to find enjoyment in it. It's the science fantasy design, all those cool like ideas. I like the alien design as well. I think I got like Oddworld Inhabitants vibes as well from those characters on the alien planet that fighting that war, just in like the elongated appendages and that sort of thing. Like the spirits, like their translucent art direction, that sort of thing. But I will say, like, none of the action was particularly interesting. Like they would just like slowly appear out of walls, and we've just got to shoot them and hope our bullets stop them. There wasn't really anything.
They're shooting from the hip.
Well, there just wasn't anything particularly uniquely interesting about the aliens and what they did and how they actually fought. They would just like kind of run over you or run through you and absorb your spirit. And then all of the action that our heroes are doing is 99% gun based. And it's just unloading into these spirits. So yeah, I kind of wanted a bit more from that, particularly from a Final Fantasy film, right, where you have typically a great mixture of modern automatic weaponry and then sometimes fantasy weapons or medieval weapons adopted for a science fantasy setting. So I thought that was a bit disappointing, But yeah, like I think there was enough of those things pulling me along. I was like, oh, okay, I can see, I can appreciate why this was so cool 20 years ago. And so that's where I was finding enjoyment in this one. I wasn't necessarily enjoying it as a film in 2022, and I can't say I'd recommend it to anyone. But if you're interested to go back and see, okay, where was the cutting edge of visuals in 2001, then yeah, this is a great experiment to revisit, I'd say.
Yeah, I can definitely see why Cameron would like think that, like, look back at this film so fondly. And it's probably one of those things like from childhood, you like,
Oh, yeah.
I know it's a bad film, but I love it no matter what, you know. So yeah,
that is
totally
actually what you mentioned, Ben, about, you know, revisiting a film from your childhood but with critical eyes. I did that with SWAT, which, you know, is by no means a fantastic film, but for whatever reason, I must have just been caught up in the nostalgia, because I was able to remove those critical eyes, and I was just along for the ride again, man. Oh, I was struck him down like a shotgun. It was so good.
Nice.
Really.
I call it the ex-wife. Wait, was that what they called it? Yeah,
Something like that. Yeah.
something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
They're talking
Was
about
that?
that weapon that they used to like rip the wall off.
Yeah, to tear the
house.
wall
Oh
off.
yes, yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I'm sure it can't be that bad. I'm gonna watch it. I'm
It
gonna
was.
watch it
It's,
this week.
I mean, again, childhood bias is showing, but anyway, that is Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. How do we watch it? Can't remember. Did you have it?
I had the Blu-ray. That's a story. But anyway,
I'm not sure if it's on streaming services, but you know, try and find it if you are keen to check it out.